Cardinal Montini met 3 times with the Jewish American leftist and Chicago infiltrator Saul Alinsky. And this was arranged through a common friend, Jacques Maritain. Who's Jacques Maritain? He claims to be a Thomist, a philosopher, and a theologian. I've also done my doctorate on Thomism, philosophy, theology, many of the same topics covered by Jacques Maritain. I'm not impressed. I would consider Jacques Maritain to be a pseudo-Thomist. He wrote a modernist book called Integral Humanism in 1935, and Jacques Maritain proposed a new form of Christendom rooted in political, philosophical, and religious pluralism, which is something that Saul Alinsky loves and something that Paul VI loves. In the mid-1940s, Jacques Maritain became Saul Alinsky's friend and collaborator. Alinsky had worked as a soft socialist community organizer in Chicago since the 1940s, and he had made it his goal to establish fronts of social justice with Protestant and Catholic clergy there in Chicago. Dishonestly, Maritain canonized the agnostic Alinsky by calling him a practical Thomist, which is ridiculous because he's an atheist. Sadly, Maritain also encouraged Alinsky to publish his famous infiltration manifesto, Rules for Radicals. And you might know that his book, Rules for Radicals, the book was dedicated to, quote, the first radical known to man who rebelled against the establishment and did it so effectively that he at least won his own kingdom, Lucifer. This book later became the handbook, the manual for Chicago community organizers. Who is the most famous Chicago community organizer of all time? Barack Obama, who becomes President Barack Obama. The thesis of Saul Alinsky is that a perceived noble end always justifies the means, no matter how vicious or pernicious the means may be. So before the first meeting between Alinsky and Montini, who becomes Paul VI in 1958, Maritain wrote to Saul Alinsky, assuring him of Cardinal Montini's enthusiasm. He says the new cardinal was reading Saul's books and would contact him very soon. Why would the future Pope, Cardinal Montini, be reading the books of a Chicago thug socialist? We know that there were at least 3 personal meetings that occurred between Cardinal Montini, the future Paul VI, and Saul Alinsky, because Alinsky says so in a letter dated June 20th, 1958. He says, quote, I had 3 wonderful meetings with Cardinal Montini, and I am sure that you will have heard from him since, end quote. That same year, after the death of Pius XII, Saul Alinsky wrote to a friend as follows. Now get this, quote, no, I don't know who the next pope will be, but if it's to be Montini, the drinks will be on me for years to come, end quote. That same year, the cardinals went to elect a pope, and Montini did not win. It went to John the 23rd, Roncalli. But after Roncalli died, they did elect Saul Alinsky's boy. I find this troubling. You could say, well, these are just associations. Just because Paul VI enthusiastically read the books of Saul Alinsky, just as Hillary Clinton did and Barack Obama did, and just because he met with them 3 times to talk about these books or these strategies, that doesn't mean that Paul VI, as Pope, was a radical, was a disruptor. But all you have to do is read church history from the 1960s up until his death in 1978, and it is nothing but radical revolution in the church. I would say the most radical revolution in the church in a 2,000-year history.